moving on to, oh, now it finally started recording. Okay, so we have a quorum. We have called to order, and so first agenda item is to just quickly touch on the letter of interest that we talked about last time,
Yes,
seeking...
hang on. There's a bunch of background noise from somebody. Can you guys stop what you're doing, please?
Yeah, Marcy, if the TV is going to be, we can hear that more than we can hear you whenever you're unmuted, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm back. I had to finish my supper.
Okay.
Cooking it, I mean.
Yep.
All right, sorry.
Much less background noise now. Thank you. Okay, so we left off a letter of interest. We're seeking one or two more board members, secretary, and treasury positions. We're just about done drafting the letter of interest, and we'll send it out as quickly as possible. That's all I had to say about that. Sam or Marcy, any comments?
No, sooner the better, Jesse. Let's try to get some hands on.
Yep. So next is to discuss a required correction to the May election documents. Confusion with the attorneys and our extra election in May and other chaos and priorities. We accidentally showed Marcy as being re-elected, even though her seat was safe. And it was Sheila who was elected by ascension or due to, no contest, basically. So we need to correct that paperwork. It's going to require a resolution to do so. And then we just need to re-sign everything and resubmit to DOLA and other entities that need a copy of that.
Okay, Jesse, so, I make a motion that we make a resolution to correct that and to get the proper documents filed.
I agree.
I second that. All right, a vote. Sam?
Yes.
Aye.
Jesse says yes. Passes
Yes.
unanimously. We'll get that taken care of as soon as possible. Sorry, Sheila. Next, approving payment of vendor invoices. MCREA, this is the last month that we're going to be doing budget billing. And our current true-up amount, I called them day before yesterday, and counting the $585 we owe now, the 1024 may include the total balance, but our true-up month is next month anyway, August. So that's the amount that we'll owe in August once we pay this $585. So our winter electrical usage was actually higher than March, April, because of running the space heater in there and everything. That was a 24-hour heat source, so that used up a bit of extra energy. But the good news is that we're using less power than we ever have, and that's going to help with once we switch off of budget billing. So the bills, some of them will be higher and some of them will be lower. They won't always be $585 anymore, but then we won't have this annual true up amount or anything like that. So
right.
The other invoice is for our certified operator, AWWS. Last month's expenditures were $15.82 and 83 cents. That included a couple extra special trips, including doing more rounds of water sampling for the state public health department. Jim also grabbed a couple more sludge samples out of the tank. I actually have a couple pictures that I'm going to show in a minute of that. And then the total coliform site mapping, that's when we reached out to everybody a while back looking for volunteers to be testing points where the certified operator can come and take bacteria samples and stuff like that. So we have to have several houses spread out evenly kind of across the neighborhood where we can do testing from. So we finally finished that project, and they're getting ready to upload it to CDPHE so that we can check that off our giant to-do list. And then also the May pump house meeting, special trip out there for meeting with the contractor, with the developer and the guy that's going to be overhauling the control panel and pumps and things like that. So a little higher than normal, but we definitely got some important things done there. So I would like to see if we could get these bills paid. What do you say, board?
I make a motion
Yes.
to pay bills, Jesse.
I second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll get those taken care of. So real quick before we move on to next agenda item, as far as the tanks are concerned, this is from the east tank, which is our primary tank. I believe the blue bands are 18-inch markers. So you can see we've got at least a good 18 inches of sludge in there. It's already been starting to kind of dump out into the bucket. So if you're wondering where it comes from, in your sediment filters and everything, this is straight out of the bottom of the tanks. And then for the west tank, it's got a bit more sludge in it than the east does. You can see a picture of it being dumped into the bucket there, and it's about halfway above the first 18-inch mark. So unfortunately, there is no way to not continuously kind of pump that off the bottom of the tanks, because the pump is at the bottom of the tank. So once the sludge gets to a certain level, the pumps just continuously kind of siphon it off and put it into the system, into the main lines. So now that we've got samples of this stuff, we can start figuring out how to get rid of it, how to filter it out before the water goes into the tanks so that it never starts to build up again and won't end up in the main lines, and only minuscule amounts of it would ever end up in sediment filters and our softeners and everything. So important progress there, getting that stuff sampled so that we actually know, what it is exactly, how to treat for it exactly, and then how to dispose of it, once we have filtered it out. But another concern that was, we just kind of recently discovered as I took this photo not too long ago, the rust inside the tanks. This part of the tank doesn't even get underwater. We only fill our tanks about 85% of the way full, and the tanks are 12 feet in diameter. So the fact that there's this much rust on the part of the tank that doesn't have water touching it all the time is rather concerning. That we don't know if that's just paint or if it's the appropriate, there's a special two-part epoxy paint that should be all inside that tank to prevent bacterial growth and be corrosion prevention and things like that. But I see a lot of corrosion right there. I don't know if I'm blind or looking at something else, but that sure looks like rust to me. So we are going to notify the developer of this issue. I've already reached out to a company that has divers that can go down there in a suit and a helmet and everything and actually inspect the tanks without having to drain them. So we're going to start getting a better look inside the tanks to figure out what kind of condition they're in and what kind of service they're going to need and things like that. But just wanted to, bring that to the attention that, the money we're spending with the certified operator, we're kind of looking at it right now, trying to figure out what that stuff is and what we can do about it. I was thinking maybe we pause, see if there's any community questions before we move on. Nope, I don't think so yet, but feel free to hit the raise hand button or unmute and to start talking. Oh, Christy, hold on one sec. Can you unmute, Christy?
Here?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Who's the certified operator?
Albert's Water and Wastewater Services, or abbreviated AWWS.
How often they come out? Quite often, you said, or what?
No, they do a couple. It's mostly work order based at this point. So there's a monthly trip and sometimes a bi-weekly trip. The monthly trip is to do bacterial samples from one of the sites that we were mentioning a little bit earlier. And then there are, special sampling for CDPHE and stuff like that.
All right.
I just want to say that AWWS has really been working diligently to try and get our violations all cleared up from the old board.
Yeah, they're really saving our butts right now, to be perfectly honest. Especially given the situation that we're in and everything, nobody has to be our certified operator. It's, we could try everyone in the phone book and may not find one that wants to deal with us, but AWWS does, and we're building a pretty good relationship with them. We still, speaking of that too, we still owe them their chlorine injector back. We have the new one. It just showed up a day before yesterday from UPS, so we'll get that installed as soon as possible, and then we can finally give the loaner back to them.
How much do we pay you?
Say again?
What'd you say, Tom?
How much do we pay them?
The monthly is somewhere in the 585 range. And then any special trips they make out here, it's going to be like a $25 fuel surcharge and a certain hourly rate. And the hourly rate varies based on, which services they're actually providing. Sampling is one thing, just doing a checkup is maybe a little bit cheaper. Having a meeting might be even a little bit cheaper, things like that. So the price varies from month to month depending on what they actually have to do.
And what's going on with getting with the previous board or Doria or whoever to do anything? Are we just kind of like hung out to dry with that or what?
No, we're still making progress there. So they wells, actually that's another agenda item. Let me switch back to that screen. Yeah, that's pretty much the next thing on the agenda, other than a quick blurb about our water consumption. So yeah, real quick on the water consumption stuff, just to keep the agenda moving. The community used approximately 500,000 gallons for June. I was figuring somewhere between 5 and 550, so I'm glad we're a little bit on the lower end of that. But that comes out to about 16,000 gallons a day, which is 50% of our storage tanks. So we can afford, a bit more than that, but not a whole lot more. The wells are in a little bit, the east well, not the west, but the east well is in a little bit better shape than it was before. The developer had a well driller come out here a couple days ago, Kuntz Well Drilling. They're very well known in this area, been around for a very long time. And they took a look at the east well, which they already cleaned in September or late, probably early September last year. And it was making 75 gallons a minute when they briefly tested it last time around, but the performance has diminished since then, and it's doing more like 50 gallons a minute. So that's 33% less than it was a year ago, that, the amount of water that we're able to get out of it. But basically what we're doing for the time being to, be able to keep getting water out of the east well is choking the pump off from 75 gallons a minute to 50. And that, the actual well can keep up with that speed of the pump, not running it dry, which makes our refills take a little bit longer, but makes them more reliable. So at this point, we don't really have a emergency conservation problem anymore, but the wells are definitely still not in good shape. They're not healthy by my measure anyway. So the Kuntz Well Drilling is coming back in a couple of days. They've already ordered the chemicals, the acid, to clean the west well and try to get it making water again. The west well isn't making any water right now, maybe 20 gallons a minute, but we didn't time how long it could do that for. So west well is still offline, but the main goal of the visit from Kuntz well drilling the other day, was to get an idea of, you know, what it's currently capable of and what type of treatment it needs. We found out that the casing, the actual, you know, the sleeve that goes all the way down to the bottom of the well, this one isn't steel. It's like a cement and fiber material, kind of like hardy board, and that can't be ultrasonic water blasted like the east well can, which is a steel casing. So instead they're going to acidize it, which basically, if you think about vinegar and water, we've got a bunch of minerals and a bunch of, you know, sediment and stuff down there that we need to dissolve and pump out. So the way to do that is to dump a bunch of fairly strong, you know, concentration acid down there, and it's going to foam up kind of and react just, you know, similar to vinegar and baking soda, and dissolve all of the minerals and all the sediment off of the walls and case, you know, the perforations of the well casing, so that water can pass through it again and actually get to the pump that's down there at the bottom. So we're still only using the east well. So servicing the west well is, you know, we don't have to like shut the system down or anything to do that. So hopefully, you know, early to mid next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at the latest, I hope they're going to come back out here, and I hope that we can get some more flow out of that well.
I'd also like to point out that in the year that Sam and Jesse and myself and Sheila and Christy, when she was here, that we have not had one violation with CDPHE.
Yep, we suddenly went from getting 181 since 2017 to 0 in the last year. That's definitely good. We're on the right track. Any questions about the public, or questions from the public about the east or west wells or system or anything like that? Go ahead, Christy.
Hello.
Yep, we can hear you.
What's going on with the other well that's over in the other field over there?
All the wells in this area are having problems. We're definitely not alone, but we're, you know, kind of in the worst shape, because not only is the groundwater low, and it always is, you know, this month and August are usually the lowest it gets throughout a calendar year. So yeah, we're definitely not alone with that, but our wells are in the worst condition, so we're feeling the effects of that low water table the most.
Okay, so there's 2 wells in that pump house, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there's another well if you go more west over there on the other side of the building, right? That's surrounded by a fence?
Yeah, so there are 2 active drinking water wells. One that's on the, you know, next to the pump house, just south of the pump house, and then there's one west of that along the road. Both of them are along the road.
West of the shop area.
You know, those we can't utilize those, or what?
Those are, yeah,
Those are the ones we're using?
yeah,
The west well.
the west well is totally dead right now, and the east well is making 33% less than it was this time last year.
And the third well, Tom, is not able to be traded it for the 2 domestic pumps, or 2 domestic wells, and that well can never be used for drinking water. It can be used for fire suppression only.
Yep, and there's really not going to be any more water in that well than the others. It's the groundwater is low right now. And Tom, actually, I thought you were asking about the well across the street, Charlie's well, because he's been pumping at a much slower rate than normal and than they used to. So yeah, I thought you were kind of asking about the wells surrounding the district, but yeah, all the wells in this area are low right now.
I mean, that's just common sense to figure that out, but I meant as far as our utilization of what's available here. So I don't give a rat's ass about Charlie. So it's worried about our development, not that. He's got, 9 wells out there or some crap. So
yeah. So yeah, our wells are, some of the worst condition in the area, I would probably say, but all of the wells in this area are they're just straws that go down to the same bowl. So there's no more water,
What,
Go ahead.
so what about all of our pipe system and what have you? There was talk before about the piping and what have you being all fudged up and such. What's the story with that? Have we found out anything more on that?
No, we'll have to do video inspections, run a big snake camera down there, try to figure out how much sludge is in the pipes. I'm figuring anywhere from like 2,500 to 13,000 gallons based on different thicknesses of it, calculations of different thicknesses. But the pipelines themselves, we haven't really seen any evidence of any major leaks, which is a good thing. But we do know that the pipeline most likely has not ever been pressure tested. So if we turn up the pressure someday, if we get bigger pumps in the pump house and everything, it may have leaks that it doesn't have at a lower pressure. So we don't really know, there's no way to diagnose that at the moment.
Okay, so hello.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so that being said, do we have a schematic of how the pipelines are laid out?
Yes, it's not necessarily how they were buried. That's the problem, is we've got drawings that were done by a professional engineer and a pipeline that was done by other people. So we don't know, based on drawings, we can't necessarily trust that. We can only get a rough idea of what it should be like.
All right, that makes sense.
Sam, could you turn off your radio?
I've definitely been studying the heck out of all those drawings for the past, almost 2 years now. So, yeah, I know them intimately, and I know what the rules are about how the system should be designed and built. So we're just trying to figure out what's the difference between the system that we've got versus the one that was drawn 20 years ago.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So how do we, other than the cameras and stuff, we have 20 years ago was when not all of this was laid out 20 years ago. It started 20 years ago, but then a lot of it was finalized here in the past 4 or 5 years, right?
So building wise, yes, but it was designed 20 years ago.
Well, I get that. But I see where you're coming from is not necessarily where the design is and how it's done is two different things. We can do a rough idea, but we can have somebody come out and try to get an idea with what is it called? I can't even think of the name of what it's called. I'm sorry, but where they can go through the ground, check it with the ground and give you an idea of where a pipeline is and stuff.
Yeah, ground penetrating radar and stuff. And it would be a lot easier if it'd be a lot easier if we actually had tracer wire on the pipeline. We're not sure if we've got that or not, because that's normally how a utility locate works, is they go out there with a handheld wand and just pick up a signal. But if there's not a wire that we can send a signal, through, then it will have to be some type of sonar or radar.
According to the developer, it wasn't cost effective to put tracer wire.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think there's any such a nature on it. I think it was just, the more I think about it, it was just laid in the ground and put together and covered up and called good.
Yeah. And before that happened, they were legally supposed to have it pressure tested and all that information recorded and submitted to the public health department. But now that it's buried, we can't pressure test it, because if we put too much pressure in it and spring a leak, you have to dig it up. So yeah, you're right. Everything just kind of got slapped in the ground as quickly as possible, and none of it was ever inspected or signed off on by any authorities.
Speaking of pressure, do we have any idea when we might get pressure back to our properties?
Is it out right now?
It's been very low for, I don't know, a week or 10 days, maybe more.
See, mine's been fine.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems with mine. What about you, Tom and Mary?
Ours varies. I mean, we'll have one time where seems like it's really high, and then the next time it's just like get pissed faster than the water goes out.
Have you
So
noticed if that happens at any certain times of the day?
it's sporadic, you know. I mean, I can't really pinpoint it for you because it's sporadic. It just one time it'll be great, and all of a sudden you don't have nothing, and then it'll kicks back up. So
That's going to depend on heavily depend on how many people are using the system at once. So the pressure situation, now that we're on that topic, that's a good thing to talk about while we're here. The pressure situation is we have 2 pressure pumps, one in each tank, and according to public health and engineering regulations, one pump is supposed to be able to supply the needs of the entire community. And the other pump is only supposed to come on in emergencies, like if we've got a fire hydrant open or if there's a big leak or something like that we're dealing with. But right now, both of the pumps are way smaller than they're supposed to be. And we are already operating at 110% of our capacity pressure-wise. So what that equates to pressure-wise is we can sometimes make 60, sometimes up to 63, 64 psi, but that's if only if nobody has any water running at all. And the minute that we open one tap, it'll drop from 60 to 59. Open another tap and someone else starts taking a shower and it drops from 59 to 55. So yeah, the pressure is probably varying a lot because of watering and people coming home and taking showers and doing laundry and stuff like that. So it would be helpful if you do notice pressure problems, try to kind of keep track of, what hours of the day it happens, because our highest consumption is from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 6 a.m. to about 8:30 p.m. By then, the pressure always seems to come back up to, 59 to 63-ish. But during the day, especially on weekends when everybody's home and doing stuff outside when it's hot, I've seen as low as like 39 psi. So it really, the pressure is directly related to the number of people that are using it, the amount of water that we're using simultaneously at that time.
We don't need that on.
I see that. I see that being because like you said, I mean, it's just like you're like, yeah, I see that. I agree with that.
If our pumps were bigger, because literally we're redlining them. The pumps are supposed to spin at 3,400 RPM, and both of them spin at 3,600 RPM 24 hours a day, and that's just to make 15 psi less than the computer's trying to make. So as far as the pumps are concerned, the developer is, as a result of the pump house inspection, working on a whole new control panel with a new pump computer and new pumps and all of that kind of stuff. So once that's done, and I think they're getting close to getting ready to place an order for the parts and everything for it, once it's all signed off on everything, we should have actually really good pressure here. We could probably make 75 or 80 psi instead of 30 to 50.
So when you say the developer, you mean Doria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Her husband.
They're stepping up to bat and taking care of this right now?
Yes.
Yes, they claim that they still own the infrastructure and the county is waiting for them to hand it over to us. So that's kind of, where we're at with that situation is, it's a weird situation, but at least we're making some progress and actually have a line of communication open with them, and they're doing stuff. They sent the well driller out here to clean the wells and inspect them. So we're hoping that, we're going to make some noticeable progress here sooner than later.
So back to the pumps and overrunning them is driving up our power usage. Is that not correct? And why is our power usage so much less than it was last year, same time?
Say again?
So running the pumps full speed all the time is using a massive amount of power. Right?
It's using probably about twice as much as it should.
And why was our power usage so much more last year, same time, than it is this year, same time?
Not sure. I'll be analyzing all of that in greater detail, but yeah, I'll have to go back. You know, like I said, we were using way more in January than we are now because of the heaters. And then we had the outage and things started fluctuating around and everything. So
I meant while before we were appointed to the board, they were doing weekly hydrant flushings. Were they running all of the pumps full speed all of the time last year?
they have to, you know, basically they cranked the pressure up to 80, even though we can barely make 50 to 60. And when you open a pump, it goes down, you know, if you just left it open and weren't monitoring the pressure, it will easily drop below that minimum required 20.
We've been monitoring the pump house several times a day. Jesse's been down there most of the time. I go down and do the sampling and do that kind of stuff, so he can focus on figuring out exactly how much water, you know, that's flowing through our wells, how much of the manganese sludge that we have, all of that. So we are monitoring it a couple times every day.
Okay, move on, Jesse.
I think that was it, public commentary. So any other questions, comments, concerns?
Yep.
Go for it.
You want to explain this water bill thing again? I mean, it says on the thing, 12 to 13,000 gallons was supposed to be $80-something. My bill was 125. You have some explaining to do.
Let me bring up our pricing table. And sorry, what was your consumption? If you don't mind,
12,000
it's
gallons.
obviously private. In 12,000.
Yep.
And was that for June?
I guess, yeah. July's not over with, so it'd have to be June.
Let me hold on a sec. I have a different reading for June.
What do you got?
Do you mind if I disclose it? That is technically
I don't
private
give
information.
a shit. I'm trying to figure out what the deal is here with between all the variations in bills.
Yeah, so 19.5 is what we read for June.
19.5.
Yep. Did I put something else on the bill?
Well, I'd have to look at it, Jesse, and see.
Yeah, let me know about that.
All right.
And any other questions, comments, concerns?
You raise your hand.
I thought Mia Homaker had a question.
Sheila? She's got her
Yeah, I
hand
forgot
raised.
what I was going to ask. I haven't seen the financials yet, Jesse.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that real quick. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on phones, so if anyone's looking at his phone screen,
I'm
let me
looking
know
on
how
my
it looks.
laptop, and that can't be read. Can you enlarge it?
Yeah, I did a little bit. How's that?
Nope.
definitely not going to be able to fit it all on one screen.
Looks like you can drop out August and September at the beginning there.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so that shows us, let me see. Okay. So we were $1,445 in the black last month.
I'm not sure how up to date these are. As far as receivable, they're on our website, by the way, Mary, too. But we can email them out to everybody. So yeah, Sheila, as far as accounts receivable, the billing system I've been trying to keep on top of, but actually accounting and treasurer duties, we definitely still need help with that as soon as we can.
Well, I told you how to pull the reports. That's all I'm willing to do.
I'm just saying in general, from new treasurer and everything like that. But yeah,
okay, so is this one the statement of activity?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Last month, it shows that we had profit of, is that last?
Hold on.
Net operating revenue.
Yep.
We had profit of $1,445. Okay.
Which
Although
3%
there are,
needs to come out.
yeah, and we also have bills to pay from that month. That's the ones that we just approved.
Yeah, the 545 and the 1,500. So we are in fact, well, that's going to come up in the July profit and loss because that'll show up when you pay them. So, July's already going to be, unless we get more money, unless people manage to pay. Scroll down, please. Okay. And scroll left. Keep going. I need to see what the rows are labeled. Okay. We see the balance sheet, what's it called?
Statement of financial position.
Statement of position, yes. Okay, scroll left so I can see where the receivables are. Okay, I see where they're at. Okay, scroll right. Okay, that looks about right. Scroll down, please. And scroll left. Okay, and scroll right again, please. Okay, it doesn't look like that bill for AWWS is on there.
No, it isn't.
Okay, yeah, if you would email those out, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, yep, I will. And then they are also on our website. If you just go to the main page and click the dollar signs.
I did just before the meeting and they weren't there yet.
There, yeah, I put them up, like 5:30-ish.
Well, I can tell you we're not spending anything more than what we absolutely have to, Sheila.
No, I understand. Oh, scroll back up on that, please. What do we have in the reserves account?
I would have to look, but I want to say, do you remember what it was before? We haven't transferred anything additional to it yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Uh,
Okay. I don't need to see it then.
That's why I said we still need to take the 3% out of our profit margin and put it in the account.
It's 3% of the top line revenue.
Right, I understand that.
Alrighty. Any other more other columns you want to look at or anything?
No, just email that to me and I'll dig into it.
Okay. I think we've made it all the way through the agenda. So,
Jesse, I want to make that comment that you and I talked about earlier, since we have quite a few people on here tonight.
yeah, go for it.
For all of you that are listening, I have contacted an attorney. This attorney is willing to work with us on a contingency basis, meaning they don't get paid unless we get paid. It was originally for all the bad construction that Daniel did, the poor concrete, the warped walls, whatever issues you guys may have. He contacted a big attorney firm that deals only in construction defaults and construction screw ups. That attorney firm is willing to work with us and take it on as a contingency basis. He is wanting to meet with whoever has any concerns or complaints in a public meeting with all of us. I'm going to set that up in the next 2 weeks. It will be at the Wiggins Fire Department. Everybody will be made aware. If we decide to go through with it and the people that are there approve it, we will proceed. If you do not show up, if you do not chime in, you get to find your own attorneys. This is not a class action lawsuit. This is a bunch of homeowners getting together to say enough is enough, to get our property that we paid for repaired and fixed properly, and maybe a little bit of extra in the bank for us. Once I set that date, I will let everybody know, but it will be at the Wiggins Fire Department in Wiggins. That's all I've got, Jesse.
Sheila's got her hand. Go ahead, Sheila. You're on mute, Sheila.
There we go. Sam, that's going to preclude me.
Why?
Because I don't have any construction problems. I oversaw my own construction.
Okay, but I've also talked to them, given our current situation with the water issues, and they have agreed that they will take that on also for us. And for whoever shows up at the meeting, if you have text between you and Daniel, if you have pictures, we have Jesse and I have all the evidence for the water. That's no problem.
Jesse, do you have everything out of my file folder?
There may be a few things. Are you talking about the drawer?
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Okay.
The file folder that we tore apart that night on my dining room table.
Oh, I haven't looked at that stuff for a long time. We'll have to recap on that.
Yeah, I'll just take the whole file folder with me.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, and I think Christy and Mia had their hands up.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mia.
So since we just moved in here a couple of months ago, does that also include us? Because we've found some things here in our house also that we don't know if it was due to construction or what.
Mia, bring what you have, bring pictures, what you found to the meeting. We'll let the attorneys determine what's valid and what's not valid.
Okay, I can definitely do that. Thank you, Sam.
Sure.
I guess I have a concern. Do we need to have a special board meeting to talk to the attorney about the water issues?
That will be a separate meeting with the board. The meeting I'm setting up is for any wires that Daniel did wrong, concrete, because I know Travis Moore's concrete's peeling up, mine's peeling up,
mine's garbage.
Jesse's is garbage. I went on a medical call to another house way up north by Jackson, and it wasn't a medical call. It was a faulty alarm, fire alarm that Daniel had installed, and we've been there like 7 times. And I looked at her concrete and I asked her, I go, who did your concrete? And she said, Daniel. So I am going to include this lady also. And I've been around the county and seen the same thing. So I've talked to the concrete company, and what they all have told me and willing to state in the court of law is we mixed it properly. They probably put too much water on it, and that's why the top is flaking off or it's cracking massively. And that's just concrete. I'm not talking about if he's done anything else wrong. If he has, it's time for Harrison Holmes to be in court.
You can look at the concrete in front of Croce's house, their driveway. That was bad. That was peeling, and it was awful.
Yep. Take pictures. If you have text messages between you and Daniel or Fred or whoever, whatever, blah, 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 you're going to need those. Is this going to be an easy fix that's going to be fixed overnight? No, this is going to take a couple years in court. But the best part is they don't get paid unless we get paid. Christy, did you have your hand up?
I did, but it was answered. Thank you.
Okay. I will let everybody know when this meeting is set up with the attorney. The attorney is Michael. Oh, God, now I forgot. Michael Martin.
Martinez?
Michael Martin.
Martin.
Yep. He is a criminal defense attorney, but he's a good friend of mine. And I talked to him about this, and he talked to the big attorney firms that handle this stuff, and they said, we'll take it because this is bad.
Cool. Thank you for looking into that and getting the ball rolling.
Okay. Anything else?
Not from me.
Marcy?
Nope, not from me either.
Any other questions, comments, concerns from the audience? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Motion seconded.
All right, folks. Thank you for showing up and giving us your input tonight. We will schedule the next one for next month.
All righty.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Meeting adjourned. Take care.
Bye.